How did I avoid playing Shenmue for this long? I had been hearing about this game for decades, the very ambitious Dreamcast game that was a commercial failure despite selling 1.2 million copies. How could that be considered a failure? Well, try spending $70 million.
$1 million.
No, 70 million, and it didn't turn a profit as a result. But because so many people played this game and became huge fans, it developed a cult following. Well, I didn't get to play this one because for some reason for years they never ported the original game to the original Xbox, and though Shenmue 2 was available for Xbox, I wasn't going to dive into the sequel of a game that was so closely tied to the first. So now, thanks to an HD collection on Xbox, I was able to experience this game, and luckily with few changes, so I'm pretty much getting the authentic Shenmue on the Dreamcast experience with several quality of life improvements, like being able to save almost anywhere and quick travel. So, what did I think of my experience with Shenmue? Well, first off, for those who are not familiar with Shenmue, just what the hell is a Shenmue anyway? Well, this is the first game in a trilogy of games developed by Sega AM2 and headed by Yu Suzuki, a man who had already established himself quite firmly in the gaming world early on, with major arcade classics like Hang On and Outrun, and later on, Virtua Fighter. Also, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that he headed Sonic the Fighters as well, because what kind of a Sonic fan would I be if I didn't mention the one and only Sonic game that he developed? Shenmue is a story of a Japanese teenager named Ryo Hazuki who is looking for revenge on an evil martial arts gangster who killed his father by the name of Lan Di. You will control Ryo as he investigates the nearby towns and areas looking for clues and collecting information from the locals. Ryo will engage in fights, interrogate bad guys, and drive a forklift? Collect capsule toys? Play Space Harrier? Talk to this guy?
Years ago, I was Chinese.
Whoa, this game is a trip to say the least, and oh boy, is this thing bugging me. Even though I read about this game back in the day, I always thought Ryo was Shenmue, like that was his fucking name, but it turns out it's not. Shenmue just means spirit tree. Okay, well, let me be the first one to say that if you need intense action in your video games, or you need a quick rapid pace that never lets up, Shenmue is not for you. Hey, that rhymes. Nice. Well, seriously, it's not. Shenmue is not a game for sprinters. It's a game where you take pleasure in the journey and the outright ambitious nature of the game and the details that it concentrates on. For 1999, this game was bonkers as hell. It was ahead of its time in every way, shape, and form. And that's putting it extremely mildly. There aren't even many games today that do what Shenmue does, aside from the Yakuza series, which does share a lot in common with it, but I have yet to play any of those games to make any kinds of comparisons, but they definitely seem worth a look. The graphics look great and still look good to this day, and the HD collection helps in that department, of course, but even the Dreamcast original still looks good. The animations are excellent, and you can see it when Ryo picks up an item or opens a door or drawer. The item and the animation that goes into it is smooth, lifelike, and believable, and it's amazing how many things you can interact with in this game. It's truly awe-inspiring. The fact that you can talk to every NPC in the game is astounding. There's more recorded dialogue than most games had at this point, and not in pre-rendered cutscenes, mind you, but actually using the in-game graphics. The game is a living, breathing world. People are walking around, they're performing tasks, and we're not talking about poorly animated NPCs. These guys are riding bicycles, having their own walk cycles, and when people talk, their mouths move in a believable fashion. And I played with the dub dialogue, and let me be the first one to tell you. Okay, well, I'm definitely not the first one because this game is 23 years old, but you have not experienced Shenmue until you've experienced the over-the-top, batshit insane English dub they did for this game. It gives it personality and flavor way beyond anything I was expecting. It's weird and wild stuff, and I totally recommend it. Although the purists will surely scoff at this statement, demanding you play it in Japanese with subtitles. But damn it, I just love these performances. They're hammed up to the umpteenth power, and I love it. Here's a few of my favorites.
I know Charlie Chaplin, but he's no longer with us.
Don't you know that blackmail is way uncool?
Shut your lip, woman!
Try asking Chinese people about Chinese.
You give me 100 yen.
When you old, you do stuff like
really
this.
that hard?
What's up with my kid? Come on, take me away!
So you'll start off the game by inquiring about a black car that was involved in the murder, and then you'll soon be asking about sailors, bikers with tattoos, and warehouses, all in an effort to fulfill your revenge, and the game does an excellent job of stringing together all the events and clues, and it's a real blast to talk to all these NPCs, especially when they all have such personality. And unlike a lot of NPCs in other video games, not all of them are nice, and not everyone is here to help.
I need to ask you something.
Forget it! Who the hell do you think you're talking to? You frontin' with me?
You'll soon find yourself in chases, barroom brawls, and street fights, and they all revolve around a pretty unique concept for the time: quick time events. Many of these require you to be paying attention because these bad boys love to pop up when you least expect it. And you could look at that as a flaw, but it's pretty cool how this game keeps you on your toes during cutscenes, so you don't feel like you're sitting through just a cutscene, but rather it feels more like an interactive movie. Though combat does feel underutilized, there is a fair amount of it outside of cutscenes, and you will learn new moves along the way. It definitely feels way different than any other game I've played, but then again, Shenmue is unlike any other game I've played. It's simple and there's no complicated counterclockwise inputs needed, but you'll need to get your timing down and know when to mix up attacks to avoid being blocked and counterattacked. Should you be defeated, the game is super generous in restarting you at the fight you were just in. But let's be honest, this game's focus is not about combat, it's about the story and the character interactions, and that is what you will be doing for most of the game. Even though there's no dialogue trees, this is a game of exploration and detective work, and it's an immersive experience that pulls you in. This game even has an in-game clock, a day and night cycle, and certain events occur and certain places are only open during certain time frames. So despite the slow pace, there is a sense of urgency to a certain degree. A minimal degree in a lot of cases, because you'll never find yourself so out of the way that you barely make it or miss anything, but there is still a sense of importance and a goal in mind. Sometimes it can be a bit annoying to have to wait for certain events, like when you have an appointment at the tattoo parlor as a means of finding a biker named Charlie, and you're asked to come back the next day. And you'll need to wait until 2 p.m., but Ryu always wakes up at 8:30 a.m. every day, and why our old pal Ryu can't just sleep in is beyond me, but at least you can play some classic Suzuki games like Hang On and Space Harrier in the local arcade, or try to work on your capsule toy collection. And I have to say, I really got into collecting these bad boys, especially the Sonic ones that are all based off the Sonic the Fighter's designs, and even these other Sega machines where you can find classic characters like Rystar and the cast of Virtua Fighter. Very cool little additions, and I kind of lost myself in it, getting oddly excited at what would pop out of the next capsule. Man, you think that this game is immersive? I think so. But anyway, back to the story. You'll learn of a Chinese cartel upon your investigation and find out that they're operating out of the harbor, and it turns out your caretaker, Ine-san, has been holding out on you and is holding onto a letter addressed to your father with a phone number in it, which leads you to Master Chen and his son, Guizan. Chen informs you of Lan Di and his mafia group, the Qi Yao Men, and informs Ryo there is another mirror other than the one Lan Di stole after killing your father, and requests you find it and come back to him. So Ryo heads to his house, and this part is really cool. As you'll notice in the dojo, there are slots hidden inside. You'll find a key in one of the drawers in your house that will unlock a case with a sword inside, and you'll use it along with a family heirloom to unlock a hidden door which leads to a unseen basement. After exploring for a bit, you'll find the mirror hidden within a wall. Although the game feels light on action, parts like this make Shenmue feel eventful, mysterious, and engaging. Finding that hidden basement presented a vast sense of wonder and discovery. And if a game can make you feel that, trust me, it's doing something right. So when you visit Master Chen once more, you'll learn that if the two mirrors are to be brought together, they can bring forth a world-destroying monster, which is kind of odd, all things considered, considering most of the game feels more grounded in reality than fantasy. But to further the fictional feel of the story, a whacked-out weirdo by the name of Chai shows up and attempts to steal the mirror. After thwarting his efforts, you're told that he's probably working with Lan Di's organization and about a gang, the Mad Angels. Also, Chen says that Lan Di has probably gone to Hong Kong, and Shenmue asks Chen to help him get there, but refuses. So Shenmue takes matters into his own hands and decides he will book himself a trip to Hong Kong, but upon visiting a local travel agency, finds out it's pretty fucking expensive to go by plane. So with the help of Fuxan, who was a student of your father who lives with you and is pretty much your best friend, you are able to afford a boat ticket instead. But you end up getting swindled by the agency. I actually really get a kick out of how the bitch at the desk is bothered by the mere thought of any sort of customer service. But she tells you to come back later, and of course, you'll have to wait around a bit, and when you return, another worker is there and acts like he doesn't know what you're talking about despite already paying. So, Ryu gets physical, and the guy tells you that he will call you in the morning. When you go meet him at the meetup spot, the arcade, you'll be attacked by Chai, who devours your ticket, and you'll get to engage in some combat, which you'll lose no matter how hard you try. After recovering, you'll go back to the travel agency, and the dude who swindled you will bolt from the building, and you'll chase him in a QuickTime event. Damn, these things really do test your reflexes. I'll be honest, I had to try this one at least several times before completing it. So when you catch him, he'll tell you about Chai and his connection to the Mad Angels. And the best way to meet the Mad Angels would be to work at the harbor. So it's back to the harbor, and I am just finding it so remarkable how there's an actual bus schedule, and you wait at the bus stop, get on the bus, and pay the fare. This game is so immersive, it's kind of surprising that you don't get to sit on the bus and look out the window as you're traveling, come to think of it, but yeah, that might be going a tad too far. But anyway, you'll run into this absolute goofball, Goro, who is way too charming of a character. I really like how they give him this Elvis pompadour and this Elvis-like theme when he appears. This guy actually attacked you when you first arrived at the harbor to visit Master Chen, but after you kicked his ass, you let him go, and now he's decided to help you out for some reason, and says he'll get you a job. When Ryo starts working for the harbor, you actually have a full work week of exciting forklift driving action. I found this to be pretty hysterical. You will do this for 5 days until you make enough progress in your Mad Angels investigation. You'll start off the day competing in a forklift race with your coworkers, which is weird as hell. I mean, who does this? Let alone every day as a warm-up, and these guys seem pretty excited about it. I can see one race, but fucking 5 of these? I really like how the music here indicates you're doing something tremendously badass. The music is pretty good in this game, and at times it's mostly atmospheric in nature, but there's never a moment where the music doesn't fit. Well, aside from the forklift metal, but it's still a great piece. The pizza shop theme is pretty catchy too. But really, the daytime music is just a pleasure, and it's probably my favorite piece because it just feels so calm and relaxing and doesn't feel the least bit invasive. So each day you will drive this forklift and carry cargo to warehouses, and the Mad Angels will pick on you each day, so there is a bit of a deviation from the monotony of that. But shit guys, I'll be honest, I never knew working could be this fun. There's been various jokes across the internet about Shenmue being a forklift simulator, but coming up with the best route around the harbor and the satisfaction of meeting and even exceeding quota by moving enough crates is actually unprecedentedly fun. And once again, immersive. They found a way to make a rather boring on paper concept be pretty engaging. And I've used a forklift in real life, guys. It's not that fun. But somehow it is here. But anyway, forklift pleasures aside, you will learn of a deal going down at the harbor between the Chi Yao men and the Mad Angels members, and learn of the leader Terry. Because you're getting so close to them, the Mad Angels end up kidnapping your love interest Nozomi, and you'll race off on a motorcycle to save her. Make sure you take your finger off the accelerator on turns and don't use that useless brake function or you'll never complete this challenge. When you meet Terry, he tells you he wants you to incapacitate Shen's son Guizhang in exchange for Nozomi. Sadly, I didn't get a chance to fully develop this relationship with Nozomi because I kind of forgot that Ryo has her phone number written in his notebook, and I hear you can get a lot more out of it that way, but what you do see along the journey is a girl that obviously likes Ryo, but he's too busy in his quest, so you see a girl greatly worried and concerned, but Ryo is just too busy on his task at hand to really bother with her all that much. There's a great sense of this when you're riding her back home on the motorcycle from the harbor and not a word is spoken on the trip. I really like this dynamic in a way because the relationship is not on the nose and not at all clear cut. It's awkward and not what you'd expect in a love story, and it hits in a heart-wrenching way. Anyway, back to the story. Shenmue tries to make the fight between him and Guizhang look real while trying to hint at him that this is a setup to fool Terry. But Terry ends up trying to kill both of them when you fight to a stalemate. But after managing to evade a crushing blow, a massive 70-man fight will explode as you fight in a gauntlet against 70 enemies in total with an absolute unit of a boss. This guy takes a laughable amount of attacks to put down, laughable in an absurdly high number of hits. I really like this part because there are so few opportunities to fight in Shenmue that having a 70-man fight is a pleasure, especially when you have gained a variety of different moves over the course of the game and you can put them to the test here. You'll then subdue Terry after a QuickTime event and he'll reveal that Lan Di has already left on the ship to Hong Kong. When things wrap up that night, you'll meet up with Master Chen and Guizhang the next day at the harbor. as he has arranged a trip to Hong Kong for you, and Guizhang is going to join you. But before you can leave, you're attacked by that lunatic Chai once more, and Guizhang gets injured, and you'll have to fight Chai one-on-one. And this fight isn't terribly hard at all, even though he takes a lot of hits to take down, even more than the last guy in the 70-man fight. But after putting him away, you'll leave on the ship to Hong Kong on your own, and that's that. The game leaves us with a lead-in to the next game, Shenmue 2, and it's pretty interesting how they've kept Lan Di so enigmatic throughout the entire game without the urge to throw in a meeting or a sighting. Not exactly the most exciting way to end a game, but at least it gives you incentive to play the next game to see the next chapter in the story. So overall, I really enjoyed my time with this game. It surely is different than anything I've played in the past, but this is a game that needs to be played to be appreciated. No review or live stream will ever do it justice. This is a game where you need to play it to believe it and experience it. Experience the game as an immersive experience. Just you and the game. And you'll know what I've been talking about throughout the entire video. Perhaps you'll find that it's not your cup of tea, but you'll probably figure that out early on. I cannot stress enough that if you require instant gratification, you will seriously hate this game and just about all it has to offer. But if you have patience and you do want to experience something that is very thoughtful and charming and has a wealth of details to appreciate, this is a very rewarding gaming experience and something you will remember for a lifetime. Yu Suzuki is a true artist, an artist with a vision, and he is a true visionary with concepts that are so different than what other game developers are thinking of most of the time. Shenmue is definitely a piece of art, a piece of gaming history, and a must-play for those interested in giving it a shot. So guys, I hope you all enjoyed this Shenmue retrospective. I know I greatly enjoyed my time with the game, and if you have not played the game and decide to give it a go based on this retrospective, I'm happy that I could have helped you come to that decision. And let me know down in the comments when you do end up playing it, or if you've already played it, let me know in the comments down below so we can discuss the game and all that it has to offer. And guys, if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe today and help this channel grow, and click the bells to get all notifications when I post all my new videos. I want to thank all my patrons for your continued support as always, and thanks again guys. I will see you next time.
Speaking of taking a leak.
Not so fast.
Oh man! Must have had me a bad egg this morning. Gotta hit the can, my man. Oh, hope I can make it in time. Oh!